Welcome back, everyone. Today we have some breaking Dallas Cowboys news that is stirring up conversation all across the NFL world, and it has to do with roster moves that could quietly shape the future of this defense. The Cowboys have officially claimed two defensive backs off waivers, cornerbacks Trikweze Bridges and Reddy Steward, in a move that has fans buzzing and analysts dissecting what it really means for the depth chart and the secondary heading into this critical stage of the season. Whenever the Cowboys make a waiver claim, it signals intent. This isn't about simply filling out numbers, this is about strategy, competition, and making sure no weaknesses exist in an area that has already faced injuries, depth questions, and a lot of scrutiny as the Cowboys look to get over the hump and position themselves as real contenders. The names themselves, Trikweze Bridges and Reddy Steward, might not immediately ring bells for casual fans, but if you've followed college football and recent draft evaluations, you know that both of these young corners bring size, speed, and a raw competitive edge that could make them hidden gems. The Cowboys have always prided themselves on scouting beyond just the headlines, finding players who may not have been highly drafted or even drafted at all, but who can step in, develop, and eventually become contributors. Think about the way players like Darren Bland or Jordan Lewis were once viewed as depth options and then blossomed into important parts of the secondary. The addition of Bridges and Steward could follow that same trajectory if things pan out. Trikweze Bridges is particularly intriguing because of his physical profile. Standing at 6'3" with long arms and the type of frame you usually see at safety, he's the kind of defensive back who disrupts passing lanes just by being on the field. Coming out of Oregon, Bridges was known for his versatility, playing both cornerback and safety, giving coaches flexibility depending on matchups. He's not the flashiest guy, but his instincts, tackling ability, and sheer length make him someone who could be molded into a very useful piece in Dan Quinn's defensive scheme, which has thrived with long, rangy defensive backs. The Cowboys secondary already has playmakers like Trayvon Diggs, Bland, and veteran Stephon Gilmore, but adding a developmental piece like Bridges is the type of low-risk, high-reward move that could pay off down the stretch. Then you look at Reddy Steward, another defensive back with a chip on his shoulder. Steward may not have the same prototypical size as Bridges, but what he brings to the table is quickness, competitiveness, and special teams upside. Out of Troy, he was known for being sticky in coverage, playing with toughness, and not being afraid to go toe-to-toe with bigger receivers. Coaches love players like Steward because they play with energy and heart, and they don't shy away from doing the dirty work. With the Cowboys' emphasis on special teams contributions when it comes to depth signings, Steward could immediately carve out a role as a gunner or coverage ace while he develops his skills at cornerback. That's how many players in the league carve their path, and Dallas has a track record of turning waiver claims into guys who end up making the 53-man roster and even contributing in big moments. What makes this move so fascinating is the timing. The waiver wire is not just about desperation, it's about keeping your roster flexible and ensuring you're ahead of the curve. For Dallas, the secondary is an area they can't afford to overlook. Injuries have a way of piling up at cornerback, and when you're in a division that features receivers like A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Terry McLaurin, and now Malik Neighbors, you cannot have holes in coverage. The Cowboys saw an opportunity with Bridges and Steward hitting the waiver wire and acted fast. This tells us that the front office and coaching staff are not leaving anything to chance. They want depth, they want competition, and they want to keep players on their toes. Every roster spot matters when you're chasing a Super Bowl. Another layer to this story is how these signings could affect other players already on the roster bubble. We know the Cowboys' cornerback room is already crowded with Diggs, Bland, Gilmore, Nahon Wright, Eric Scott Jr. and C.J. Goodwin, who is primarily a special teams ace. Adding Bridges and Steward puts more pressure on guys like Wright and Scott Jr. who have been inconsistent at times. Training camp and preseason were always going to be defining moments for these younger players, But now, with more competition in the room, every practice rep, every preseason snap, and every coverage assignment will matter that much more. In a way, this move is as much about pushing the current players as it is about discovering new talent. From a broader perspective, it shows the Cowboys front office has its eyes open across the league. You don't just stumble upon young, talented defensive backs at this stage unless you're paying attention. The fact that they claim not one but two corners in a single swoop shows that there's an intentional effort to bolster that unit. This isn't a coincidence, it's a signal. The Cowboys know they're close, they know their defense is the backbone of this team, and they're not going to let lack of depth be their downfall. Fans have long criticized Dallas for being conservative in roster moves, but this is one of those quiet, under-the-radar actions that could look smart in hindsight if either Bridges or Steward develops into a contributor. Think about how this lines up with the Cowboys' recent strategy. Dan Quinn loves versatile, tough defenders. He values guys who can switch roles, handle multiple responsibilities, and create turnovers. With Diggs coming back from injury, Gilmore getting older, and Bland emerging as a star, adding more youth and versatility to the cornerback group is exactly what the defense needs. You want that pipeline of young talent constantly flowing, because in the NFL, you're always one injury away from testing your depth. The waiver wire is often overlooked by fans, but it's the place where smart front offices steal players who other teams undervalue or simply don't have room for. And let's not forget about the emotional aspect. For Bridges and Steward, this is a huge moment in their careers. Being claimed off waivers means a team actively wanted you, saw potential, and believed you could fit in their system. That's a confidence boost for any young player, and it motivates them to prove the decision right. Both guys will walk into the Cowboys facility knowing they have a golden opportunity, but also understanding the expectations are high. Dallas isn't just any team, it's America's team. The spotlight is brighter, the fan base is louder, and the demand for excellence is relentless. If they want to stick, they're going to have to perform, not just in games, but every single day in practice. The big question now is how much of an impact they can actually make. Will either of these guys crack the 53-man roster, or are they destined to be practice squad stashes while the Cowboys continue to monitor their development? It's possible we don't see immediate contributions, but with the unpredictable nature of an NFL season, both Bridges and Steward could find themselves on the field sooner than later. Remember, Darren Bland wasn't expected to become a key starter this quickly, and now he's considered one of the brightest young corners in football. Sometimes opportunity knocks when you least expect it, and for Bridges and Steward, this claim is that first knock. Fans should also consider the financial angle. Waiver claims are relatively cheap ways to acquire talent compared to free agency or trades. For a Cowboys team that has to think carefully about cap space with big contracts looming for players like Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb, these low-cost additions are smart roster management. You're getting players with upside without jeopardizing your financial flexibility, which is vital in today's NFL. Jerry Jones and Will McClay know the value of keeping the pipeline stocked, and this is part of that long-term vision. As the story develops, all eyes will be on training camp battles, preseason reps, and how the coaching staff deploys these two young corners. Every rep will be dissected, every play scrutinized, because fans want to know if these claims were simply roster filler or potential steals. That's what makes this exciting, the unknown factor. It keeps fans engaged, it keeps players hungry, and it keeps the team moving forward. So, Cowboys Nation, this is where things stand. The Cowboys have claimed Trikweze, Bridges, and Reddy Steward off waivers, adding competition, depth, and intrigue to an already talented defensive backfield. It's the type of move that might not dominate headlines today, but a few months from now, we could be talking about how these claims turned into crucial depth or even breakout stories. That's the beauty of football. Sometimes it's the under-the-radar moves that shape a season more than the blockbuster trades. With that said, we'll keep a close eye on how this develops and bring you every update as the Cowboys prepare for a season where expectations couldn't be higher. If you're excited about these additions or have thoughts on who should make the final roster, let us know in the comments. And as always, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on the latest breaking Cowboys news and updates.